Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a really bizarre, kind of tragic fable about a tiny creature living out in the harsh, unforgiving environment of the Sahara Desert. It's a fascinating story. It starts off just looking at the quirky habits of a desert rodent, but you know what? It very quickly turns into a profound and honestly pretty uncomfortable mirror for all of us. 10 kilograms. Now picture a tiny, frantic sand rat just scurrying across the vast Sahara right before the dry season hits. Driven by pure instinct, this little guy is going to obsessively and exhaustingly hoard 10 kilograms of grass roots. To put that into perspective, that's an absolute mountain of food for an animal that small. It's just a staggering amount of relentless work.
The sand rat's trap, working to death for nothing.
The sheer absurdity of this biological instinct is just staggering. A single sand rat actually only needs about 2 kilograms of roots to survive the entire dry season. That's it, just 2. But they go out and gather 10. They're aggressively hoarding 5 times the amount of food they actually need. And here's the ultimate punchline. All that excess, it just sits in the burrow and rots. So the rat then has to spend even more energy painstakingly dragging all that decomposed, rotting mush back out of its home. They're literally working themselves to the bone for garbage.
So the crucial takeaway here is that this isn't just some quirky animal habit, it's a deep psychological trap. The source text highlights this fascinating cage experiment. Researchers took these sand rats, put them in a totally safe cage, and fed them an ample, really rich diet every single day. They were in absolutely zero danger of starving. But what happened? The rats died. And they didn't die from starvation. They died of profound anxiety simply because they were deprived of the ability to hoard. The sheer inability to accumulate excess is literally what killed them.
Which brings us to what the source author formally calls sand rat anxiety. It's defined as the fatal compulsion to hoard excess resources for survival, ultimately destroying the very environment needed to live. It's a deeply tragic irony, right? By frantically gnawing off every single grass root in sight just to feel this fleeting sense of safety, these rats make the desert even more barren. They're actively destroying their own long-term chances of survival. In this desperate attempt to secure their future, they are quite literally digging their own graves.
Are we sand rats? The human compulsion for excess. So I've got to ask you, are we any different? Really take a look in the mirror for a second as we go through this material. I mean, sure, we can laugh at the rat hauling rotting roots out of its burrow, but let's take a hard look at how we behave in our own modern lives. The text breaks down 3 really specific human examples. Take millionaire businessmen, right? Folks who have enough generational wealth to support their families for lifetimes, yet they engage in endless toil day after day, never satisfied. Or consider a 36-year-old official, right at the absolute peak of his life and career. He traded his freedom for excess, taking bribe after bribe until he was exposed and sent to prison. Or, hey, even internet commenters fall into this trap, spending their precious time tirelessly arguing online, totally lost in the obsessive pursuit of accumulating points or just having the last word. Looking at all of these examples, the author repeatedly hits on this one rhythmic beat, asking a super simple question. Why bother? Why sacrifice your youth, your freedom, your inner peace, and your very limited time for entirely unnecessary excess? Seriously, what is the point of carrying around all those extra roots?
The cost of excess, depleting resources, draining life.
Just like our furry little friends in the Sahara, we humans often only feel secure when we have excess. Without it, we get extreme anxiety. And the author beautifully connects this psychological need for excess to real-world chaos. For instance, the source references this massive purchasing frenzy back in the early 1980s. People were completely terrified that if they didn't hoard items immediately, prices would skyrocket and they'd be left with nothing. It was pure, unfiltered fear of scarcity driving a collective madness. Panic buying is, essentially, human sand rat anxiety in action.
And here's the vicious cycle this anxiety creates on a global scale. As the population naturally grows, resources start to relatively dwindle. This triggers our collective fear, which intensifies the desire to violently hoard those extra grass roots, which, of course, inevitably means resources eventually run out completely. If we all act like sand rats, gnawing at every root we see, we guarantee the ultimate depletion of the exact things we all rely on to survive.
Borrowing tomorrow's troubles, the illusion of future security.
The source shares a really striking anecdote to highlight this point. A worried young mother wrote in, desperately complaining that she needed to find a way to earn more money immediately. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to pay for her child's future education.
The author responded with a blunt but vital question. Why are you worrying about something so far off? Just think about the absurdity of this mother's panic. She's currently just 23 years old, and her child is exactly 1. Yet her anxiety is completely focused on the kid's college tuition. That's an event that won't happen for 17 years. She is literally letting a phantom anxiety almost 2 decades away completely ruin her present day.
As the text brilliantly puts it, tomorrow hasn't arrived yet, so why let it ruin you? The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that life is finite. If we focus entirely on accumulation, on desperately hoarding for a tomorrow that might look completely different anyway, we spend all our precious time carrying burdens that don't even exist yet. We risk losing the beautiful opportunity to sublimate our lives, to actually experience joy and growth right now.
Living in the present, escaping the rat race.
It all starts by reminding us of a fundamental, totally unavoidable truth of human existence. We come into this world with nothing, and we leave with nothing. As the text poetically states, we arrive with clenched fists, but we depart with open hands. If that truth is so universally clear, why do we maintain such a gripping obsession over excess that we can never, ever keep?
To address this modern disease, the source text actually draws on some ancient ideas, referencing these words from Jesus. Do not worry about tomorrow. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? The author uses this to emphasize seeking higher meaning, what's referred to as the kingdom of the greatest creator, over the endless, exhausting accumulation of things. Just don't carry tomorrow's heavy burdens today.
The text also connects this idea to a teaching of Buddha. Live in the present, go with the flow, and follow the natural course of things. The argument here is that true peace comes from letting go of the desperate need to control an unpredictable future through hoarding. It means gracefully stepping out of the deadly trap of excess.
Which brings us to the end of this explainer, and I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. Excess is dangerous to life. It rots in our burrows, it destroys our environment, and it drains our souls of the present moment. So, look at your own life, look at your own anxieties, and ask yourself, will you stop being a sand rat?